Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Some musings about April 1st. Today would have been my grandmother's birthday. If she hadn't died back in 1982, she'd have been 125 today. I also have a great nephew who turned 10 today. I don't know if he's heard about his great great grandmother, but since they share the same birthday, but it's not really all that odd. My great grandfather and I have the same birthday. April Fool's Day. I remember being in the second grade on April Fool's Day. In our classroom, there was a large, long closet in the back of the room where we hung up our coats. A couple of my wayward friends and I agreed that I should get in the teacher's closet and surprise her when she came back to hang her coat up. The door had louvers on it where I could see out from the inside, and no one could see in to see me. I was patiently waiting for Mrs. Estes to come to the closet, and then she came in. All my friends started calling to her, "Go hang up your coat." Idiots. She calmly came to the back to where I was and locked the door. The bell rang. She started taking names for roll call, and when she got to my name, I said, "Here," while still inside the closet. The whole room roared. I guess you all knew who the fool was that day. When was the very first April Fool's hoax? Perhaps it was recorded in Genesis 3. It wasn't a joke at all. Instead, it was malicious, horrible, and mean. Satan, who is the father of the foolish, told a believable lie. It was perpetrated on Adam and Eve on that day, and mankind has been falling for it ever since. The foolishness is sin. In Scripture, the word fool is often used for a wicked or depraved person, one who acts contrary to sound wisdom in his moral actions, one who only follows its own inclinations instead of sound doctrine. He prefers trifling and temporary pleasures instead of service to God and eternal happiness. In Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, it says, "The fear of Jehovah is the beginning of knowledge, but the foolish despise wisdom and instruction." This is exactly what Satan was able to tempt Adam and Eve to do. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 16 and 17, "And Jehovah God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die." A proper fear or reverential awe of God should have kept Adam and Eve from ever approaching this particular tree. Yet they listened to Satan's lie and fell for the worst joke. Genesis chapter 3, verses 4 and 5. "And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as God, knowing good and evil." Always be careful for what you wish for. There are many people and examples in our Bibles that show foolishness is a choice. King Solomon sought to become wise. In a dream, according to 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 9, Solomon sought wisdom when he said to God, "Give thy servant therefore an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this thy great people?" This was a very unfoolish request. King Solomon sought to reign over and lead his people with righteousness, justice, mercy, and understanding. He knew that evil leadership prompted or promoted ignorance and chaos that would drive the people away from God. The prodigal son shows us reckless and youthful foolishness. His story is told to us in Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. And there he decided to squander his inheritance. But then wisdom came upon him when he realized things were better for the people that worked for his father. He learned from his foolish choices, and it led him to redemption. In the end of the parable, even the eldest son was exposed as a fool because of his self-righteousness and envy over his father's love for the younger son. The father's wisdom is expressed in verses 31 and 32. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that is mine is thine. But it was meet to make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead, and alive again, and was lost, and is found. There are many great verses, both in the Old and the New Testaments, concerning wisdom and foolishness. In Psalm 14, verse 1, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. And I noticed on our website that that verse was on there yesterday after I wrote this. But Proverbs 18, verse 2 says, a fool hath no delight in understanding, but only that his heart may reveal itself. Maybe a better way to state the last half of this proverb is that the fool just likes to express his opinion. Proverbs 10:23, it is as sport to a fool to do wickedness, and so is wisdom to a man of understanding. Proverbs 18, verse 7, a fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. Similarly, it is written in James chapter 3, verses 5 through 10, so the tongue also is a little member and boasteth great things. Behold, how much wood is kindled by how small a fire. And the tongue is a fire. The world of iniquity among our members is the tongue, which defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the wheel of nature, and is set on fire by hell. For every kind of beasts and birds, of creeping things and things in the sea, is tamed, and hath been tamed by mankind, but the tongue can no man tame. It is a restless evil, it is full of deadly poison. Therewith bless we the Lord and Father, and therewith curse we men, who are made after the likeness of God. Out of the same mouth cometh forth blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. One of my most favorite verses is from Job chapter 28, verse 28. And to the man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. To me, anything less is foolishness. I never thought that I would ever quote Richard Pryor from this pulpit. For you that don't know him, hope you never find out about him. But he said in one of his routines, don't let anyone call you an old fool, because they no such thing as an old fool. You don't get old by being a fool. The cemetery outside of town is full of young fools. Richard was wrong. There are plenty of old fools left in this world. Those that think they've done all that they're supposed to do by being baptized in their denomination. Those that believe once saved, always saved. Those that lay their hand on their television and invite Jesus into their heart. Those that don't do as the Bereans did. They search the scriptures daily to prove all things and added to their wisdom. Those that follow a man instead of God. Don't be a fool. The Lord's invitation is extended to anyone that hasn't yet answered his call. If you need to be saved by the cleansing waters of baptism, please let us know. If you are saved but need the prayers of the church on your behalf, please let us know. As together we stand and sing.